Before Hollywood learned how to sparkle, it learned how to hide, behind every polished publicity portrait. Behind every flawless movie star smile. There were children waking up in fear. Families collapsing behind closed doors.
Did you hate him for that?
No.
And parents whose cruelty was powerful enough to scar the golden age forever. Some of these stories were whispered. Some were denied. Some were buried so deep that even the studios prayed they would never surface. But tonight, they do. And the final story on this list? It will change the way you look at Hollywood forever.
Number 1. Charlie Chaplin, the legend who ruled his home like a set. To the world, Charlie Chaplin was magic. A genius. A poet of silent cinema. A man who made millions laugh without saying a single word. But ask his children, and they will tell you he saved all his tenderness for the screen. Chaplin's perfectionism didn't end when filming stopped. At home, he expected obedience. Not conversation. Discipline. Not affection. His eldest son, Charles Jr., once said living with him felt like living under a spotlight you could never escape. Every step, every laugh, every mistake was judged as if the world were watching. He demanded silence at meals. He controlled what they read, what they learned, who they saw. He loved image, much more than intimacy. Some children adored him because they had no other choice. Others lived their entire childhood trying desperately not to disappoint him. And when one son finally said, he belonged to the world, not to us, the world finally understood. Even the greatest comedian in history could not make his own children smile. Number 2. Judy Garland, the child star who inherited pain. Before she was Dorothy. Before she walked the yellow brick road. Before she shook the world with a voice too powerful for her small frame. Judy Garland was just a little girl. With a mother who believed applause was oxygen. Ethel Gum didn't push Judy toward fame. She shoved her. Through exhaustion. Through tears. Through nights when sleep was a luxury and pills were required simply to stay upright. With her mother's approval, the studio fed Judy amphetamines to keep her awake. Then sleeping pills to force her down. Hollywood called it discipline. Judy called it her childhood. She once said, "My mother only loved me when I worked." And as she grew older, that wound grew with her. Judy swore she would never treat her own children that way. But trauma has a way of echoing across generations. To her children, Liza Minnelli, Lorna Luft, Joey Luft. She was warmth one moment. A storm the next. She loved fiercely. But she was broken long before she became a mother. Her tragedy is not just what Hollywood did to her. It's how Hollywood shaped every life she touched. Number 3. Joan Crawford, Hollywood's perfection, and her daughter's nightmare. Imagine a mother whose public smile could win an Oscar. And whose private temper could freeze a room. Joan Crawford, Queen of Elegance, was the definition of controlled glamour. Every hair in place. Every step rehearsed. Every interview flawless. But according to her daughter Christina, that perfection had a price. Inside their mansion, love was a performance. And Crawford was the director. A crooked dress. A missed chore. A whim she didn't like. Could unleash a fury that Christina described as surgical. There were no soft goodnights. No gentle hugs. Only rules, and consequences. When Mommy Dearest was published, the world was horrified. Wire hangers became symbols of terror. And for the first time, audiences understood that Hollywood's shining women could hide the darkest shadows. Crawford denied everything until her death. And maybe the public believed her. But Christina never changed her story. Because some wounds don't fade. even when the world refuses to believe them. Number 4. Joe Jackson, the man who made icons, and broke children. The Jackson name echoes through music history. Michael. Janet. The Jackson 5. But behind the glitter of fame stood Joe Jackson. A man who trained his children like soldiers. Pushed them beyond exhaustion. And believed fear was a better teacher than love. Michael Jackson once said. He could feel the belt in Joe's hand. Even when Joe wasn't in the room. He grew up rehearsing until he collapsed. Terrified of missing a note. Terrified of disappointing the man who claimed to love him. Joe created legends. But he also created scars. That even global fame could never fully cover. Number 5. Bing Crosby, the velvet voice with a heart of ice. To the world, he was Christmas itself. Warm. Comforting. Timeless. But to his own sons. Bing Crosby's home was a place where silence meant survival. Gary Crosby revealed that behind the soft voice and gentle smile was a man who believed pain built character. Belts. Fists. Rules stricter than military camps. 2 of Bing's sons later took their own lives. The man who brought comfort to millions left heartbreak inside his own home. And the world never suspected a thing. Number 6. Ryan O'Neal, the leading man who broke his daughter's heart. In the 1970s, Ryan O'Neal was the poster boy of American charm. Golden hair, perfect smile, effortless charisma. He felt like the kind of father any kid would dream of. Except his daughter, Tatum O'Neal, lived the opposite dream. At just 10 years old, she became the youngest actor ever to win an Oscar. Starring alongside her own father in Paper Moon. But behind the camera, he treated her less like a child. And more like competition. Tatum later said that approval from Ryan was rarer than awards. And she had plenty of those. He mocked her success. He belittled her emotions. He made her fear her own achievements. Hollywood saw a picture-perfect father-daughter duo. But to Tatum, the set was the safest place they ever shared. When the cameras turned off, so did his affection. Years of distance, addiction, and failed reconciliations followed. A family torn apart by a man who loved fame more than fatherhood. O'Neal was charming for the world. But his daughter remembers him as the man who taught her. That success can feel like punishment. Number 7. Henry Fonda, the hero America loved, and the father who never spoke. Henry Fonda built a career playing righteous men. Honest men. Strong men. Men who fought for what was right. But his children, Jane and Peter Fonda, grew up wondering why that courage never reached their home. Jane once said, "My father could talk to strangers for hours. But never asked me how I felt. Not once." Fonda wasn't cruel. He was something far more confusing to a child. Emotionally invisible. He lived behind a wall so high that even his own children couldn't find a door into his heart. Jane spent decades trying to earn his approval. Winning awards, breaking barriers, remaking herself again and again. Hoping one day he would say he was proud. He did. But only near the end of his life. When time had finally softened what decades of silence had hardened. Henry Fonda's tragedy was not abuse. It was absence. A father whose presence filled screens. But left empty spaces in his children's hearts. Number 8. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling hero who mocked his own blood. Errol Flynn was the man every boy wanted to be. And every girl wanted to meet. A pirate, a rebel, an adventurer. Larger than life. But behind that daring smile was a man who used cruelty as casually as wit. His daughter, Deirdre, said her father's jokes cut deeper than knives. He mocked her appearance. Her weight. Her emotions. Her intelligence. Nothing was safe. If she cried, he laughed. If she tried to get close, he vanished behind charm and sarcasm. And while his children were trying to understand him, he was out conquering the world. Or running from it. His son Sean Flynn disappeared during the Vietnam War. And was never found. Errol never saw the consequences of the emotional legacy he left behind. But his children lived with it long after the applause faded. Number 9. Lucille Ball, the queen of comedy who ruled her home with iron precision. Lucille Ball was America's sweetheart. A comedic genius. A television pioneer. A woman who made the entire nation laugh. But to her children, she was a force of perfection. Intense, ambitious, and impossible to please. Her daughter, Lucy Arnaz, once said, "My mother didn't demand perfection. She expected it." Lucille didn't scream. She didn't punish viciously. Her weapon was colder. Withdrawn affection. If you disappointed her, she didn't yell. She simply disappeared behind icy silence. Her kids grew up measuring every action, every word, every breath, hoping they wouldn't trigger her disappointment. Lucille's legacy as a comedian is legendary. But her children remember the pressure of living with a woman who treated life like a scene that always needed another take. Number 10. Peter Sellers, the genius who turned love into a battlefield. Peter Sellers could transform into anyone. A detective. A villain. A fool. A mastermind. But in his own home, he became the one character his children feared most. A man whose love changed from warmth to rage in seconds. His daughter Victoria described it like living next to a storm. Unpredictable. Explosive. And always waiting to erupt. One moment, he praised her. The next, he accused her of betrayal. Imagining slights that never existed. He craved devotion. And punished any sign of independence. Sellers spent his final years trying to apologize. But his body failed before his heart ever learned how to soften. His children grew up trying to understand a father who could make the world laugh, but couldn't give his own family peace. Number 11. Loretta Young and Clark Gable, the secret Hollywood tried to erase. Some scandals destroy careers. Others destroy childhoods. In 1935, during the filming of The Call of the Wild, two of Hollywood's brightest stars, Loretta Young and Clark Gable, conceived a child the studios believed could never exist. A baby born of two married celebrities. Wasn't just a scandal. It was a death sentence for their careers. So they hid it. Loretta vanished for months. The press was told she was ill. She returned later, refreshed. And then secretly adopted her own daughter, Judy Lewis, pretending the baby was from an orphanage. Judy grew up surrounded by whispers. A mother who kept emotional distance. And a face in the mirror that looked disturbingly like the king of Hollywood. It wasn't until adulthood that Judy learned the truth. Her father was Clark Gable. "My whole life," she said, "I was the secret that wasn't allowed to exist." Hollywood didn't just erase a mistake. It erased a childhood. Number 12. Mickey Rooney, the star who left his children in the dark. Mickey Rooney was the definition of a Hollywood miracle. A child star who became a teen icon who became a lifelong showman. People adored him. Studios relied on him. The entire country felt like they knew him. But his 9 children barely did. Rooney was constantly touring, filming, traveling, escaping. He had 8 marriages. 8. Every time life got complicated, he left. For a new job. A new city. A new relationship. A new identity. His daughter Kelly once said, "My father loved the world. But he forgot to love us. He didn't beat them. He didn't scream. He simply wasn't there." Sometimes absence hurts more than abuse. Because you can't heal from someone who was never present enough to confront. Mickey Rooney died a legend. But his children inherited a silence far greater than his fame. Thank you for watching and for taking the time to look beyond Hollywood's shine. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, it really helps the channel grow. And tell me, what's your honest take on the parents behind these old Hollywood actors? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.